Hi, and welcome to Stitching with Cindy Botts. This is my table runner top, and it's not quilted yet. Still needs to be pressed a little bit more. Got a couple little wrinkles there that I want to press out, but that is the top for my table runner. And I have quite the long counter. The crazy blocks are 10 inches. This sashing area is an inch, cut it at 1.5 inches, and my borders are 4 inches. Then with the seam allowance, 3.5. So it is over 50 inches long, but again, I have a very large countertop, so that'll work out very well for me. Now to do this crazy block, which is right here, it looks like you've used a lot of little pieces, but you haven't. So let me show you how I did it. Now, some people call this the stack and whack method, and if you prefer to do it that way with a large 10 or 12 inch piece of fabric, a nice 10 or 12 inch square, you can do it that way, but I chose to do it a little bit different, using up more of my scraps. So here I have what I did. So I took these were 3 3/4 inch blocks, or squares. Why I had them at that measurement, I don't know. I think they were given to me, somebody else's leftovers. And what I did was I sewed two together, sewed them into strips of 4, and then sewed my strips of 4 into blocks of 4 by 4. So let's see if I can get that raised up just enough so you can see. So instead of using a 10 inch or 12 inch square, I used a 4 by 4 or a 16 patch block. That way I used up 16 of my squares from my scrap bin with each block I made. Now, because you're going to be cutting it and sewing again and cutting and sewing again repeatedly, this block is going to come out a lot smaller. So these were almost 4-inch blocks. 4 by 4 is 16 by 16 minus the seam allowance, and yeah, okay. So these were kind of large blocks, and by the time I got done, I trimmed them to 10. So what you do is you simply make several of your blocks. Now I made 6 of them. Then you lay 6 of these 4 by 4 blocks on top of each other, and then you start cutting. So this is a very fun, don't have to follow a specific pattern. You just grab a square and sew, and then you come down to this part where you just decide, where do I want to cut? You could cut here. So you're cutting all 6 blocks at one time, and you just cut on the line. Now the trick to this is to make sure that you're cutting a straight line, and it's going from one side of the block to the opposite side of the block. And then you just take all 6 blocks over to the sewing machine, put the top cutting on the bottom, so that you're cutting 2 different squares, you're sewing 2 different blocks together to make a new block. And if you wanted to do 2 at a time, that's fine. You can do 2 cuts at a time. Just move your ruler over and make a new cut. Again, keeping your stacks lined up and taking maybe 2 this time from the top and putting them at the bottom, then sewing through your pile. And then you just come back and you do it again. Maybe this time you want to make a cut here, and maybe a cut going this way or here. It really doesn't matter where those cuts are, as long as I said you do all 6 at one time and you go from side to side. So let's see if we can see some of my cut lines on my block. So there's one cut line. And let's see another cut line. Oh, here's another cut line. I went straight across that time. Here is another cut line. And here's a cut line. And here's a cut line. So it really comes out this really fun, crazy block. And you haven't really played with any small pieces. The smallest piece you were playing with were your original squares. So I would suggest not using anything below a 3.5-inch square to start with, but anything bigger than that would be great, you know. So a 9 patch of 5-inch squares and do it. Anything you have in your scrap pile will work. So you have a great day, and I hope you try this stack and whack or crazy block. And this would be great for tote bags, quilts, wonderful, many, many different options for you to use it for. You have a great day. Bye now.